You've been absorbing the cost of extractive systems without a way to read the signs. And this is when that changes. And it starts with one question that shows the way. But first, extraction and effort are not the same thing. And that's because the effect of effort on your vitality reserves depends on how extractive the effort is. You can work 60 hours on something and be ready for more, or struggle through 35 on a project and feel awful. One is less extractive than the other, and one widens the vitality gap and one doesn't. You need to pay attention to how extractive the experience is for you. And reading this pattern is like having a map. If these two experiences were destinations, you'd choose to head for the high vitality 60-hour effort and steer clear of the depleting 35 hours, even though it's more work and more time. You choose it because it's the direction that works best for you. And in the past, it's been hard to choose that direction. And there's just too much noise and too many demands, and all that clamor coming from the extractive systems in your life keeps your attention focused on them. And here's what extractive systems have done really well. They've convinced you that their limits are your limits. They define what a good job looks like. They set the schedule, create the to-do list, and when that's all taken care of, that's it. Now it's time for the next demand. And I think of this as being like a human conveyor belt, always delivering. And like a conveyor belt, the extractive systems want to keep you bolted to the floor. They want you tethered to your roles and responsibilities with blinders on. And this is the widest, deepest version of the vitality gap. And because they're noisy and you're competent and disciplined, you keep it up. And the longer you operate this way, the more normal it feels. You stop noticing what's missing, and then you tell yourself you were never meant to have it in the first place. You accept the vitality gap and make it part of your life, which is paving the road to burnout. And this is a fallacy, of course, and it only works if you let it. It's a fallacy to think that you don't have time to look up and look around, to consider that your life can be more interesting than an efficient set of processes and a good playlist. Breaking this fallacy means bringing your vitality into the picture alongside the responsibilities that you hold. And this means building toward what you want. And I think of this as expansion. Although you need to expand to close the vitality gap, the extractive systems want to keep you small and boxed in. And this works to convince you to make choices that align with this idea. You agree to live with the vitality gap. You settle into thinking maybe later, maybe when things calm down, maybe when mom's feeling better, maybe when this project ends, and the most common one, maybe when I retire. Maybe later means the extractive systems are working really well. The opportunity to expand isn't off the table, but it is out of reach. So when you're boxed in, I see most women having two responses. Both are completely human and make sense, but they're both false choices. The first is the escape fantasy. It's all about pulling the ripcord. You dream about quitting your job, starting over in a house that would be less work, a long break on a beach with an open bar, your phone taken away by the waves. But you don't actually want to pull the ripcord. So the fantasy fades for now and the next Zoom call begins. But don't let it go completely. Fantasies like these can offer helpful information. They can do more than let you know the vitality gap is true for you. If you observe more carefully, they can tell you where you've been ignoring your vitality. They're the equivalent of your vitality reserves pooling their money to run a Super Bowl ad because their signals just aren't getting through. The escape fantasy is about expansion, to be sure. It's imagining what it would feel like to have your vitality matter. But a fantasy isn't what you need. You need a way to make this real in your life. The fantasy fades and you get back to work. The second response is endurance, pushing through. This is the extractive system's favorite. They love it when you endure. But speaking for your vitality, endurance is a liability. You know it's true because you've experienced it. Pushing through doesn't work because it's ultimately unsustainable. Unlike escape's attempt at expansion, endurance pretends like expansion isn't an option at all. It says, this is the deal. I just got to keep going. And in both escape and endurance, you're the only one making the concessions. Escape concedes because leaving means leaving. You're checking out of extraction, but you're also checking out of the complex life that you actually want. Endurance is full on concession. You succumb to the vitality gap and let the extraction roll. And both accept that your life is bolted to the ground like that conveyor belt. It's unmovable, it's unchangeable. And this keeps you operating within your life's parallel galaxies without accounting for what it's costing you. And you get stuck here because you don't know there's a third option. And the third option means accepting extraction and expansion as having roles in your life. It's when you know the vitality gap is real and you're ready to address it. You already know the systems in your life need you to deal with their extraction. And now you know that your vitality needs you to expand beyond what these systems might need. So imagine a spectrum standing vertically. Expansion is at the top and extraction's at the bottom. You can think your vitality reserves as being the cheering section of the expansion end. At the extraction end, there's a powerful magnet. Your entire life falls somewhere on this spectrum. And now envision a slider on that spectrum ready to move up and down. And the magnet pulls heavy on it. On the extraction end is the 8-hour meeting where nothing gets decided, or the marathon shopping trip to find socks the night before the game, or the volunteer gig that's getting out of hand. The more you're at this end, the wider the vitality gap grows. Likely, there's a lot in the middle. These are the things you do and the experiences you have that give and take in equal measure. It doesn't build excess vitality, but it doesn't deplete it either. The expansion and extraction find balance. The vitality gap stays stable. And once you make it through the middle, you're heading towards expansion. That 60-hour project that kept you inspired, when you actually see the band that you've always meant to see, the salsa class you decided to prioritize, when you're on a trail, just you and the trees. This narrows the vitality gap. And I talk about this in concrete terms because you already know how all this feels. You're just not tracking it. You're definitely not accounting for it. So think about that spectrum as you're learning to bring your vitality into focus and use the slider to track what's happening objectively. And to do this, you just ask yourself this: is this expansion or extraction? This question works when you apply it to what you're experiencing, what just happened, and what you might be considering doing. And at first, it takes a deliberate effort. You have to stop and assess. Where do you land the slider? Then it will become instinct. You no longer only measure that 8-hour meeting for what it fails to deliver from the system's perspective. You also assess what it does to your vitality. You are not breaking up with your life, and you're also not complaining. You're going to still go to the meeting. You just have a new objective measurement to apply that protects you. So when the next meeting comes, you're ready for it. You're doing the math that you're missing out on now, and it keeps you accountable to your vitality. Let's look at another scenario with Tara and Kate. Kate had a major presentation due on Thursday and needed to chase the plumber all week. Tara's boss was on vacation all week and was able to leave work early on Friday. On Saturday, both Kate and Tara have kids competing at an event 4 hours away. They back out of their driveways at dawn. Tara relishes this experience. She loves seeing her child compete and gets to relive some cherished memories of her own similar experience. Over the years, she's connected with parents and loves the feeling of the community and the excitement of the event. She's so glad to be able to take the picture of her child with the team at the end of the day. Kate's experience is different. She had a tough time getting going after her long week. She's not sure whether the plumber is going to make it to the house while she's gone, and she's hoping her husband will be home at the right time. Her hip hurts from the long drive and the long day on a hard chair. And her child is disappointed by their performance, and Kate is the unlicensed therapist called to the scene. Tara's story, expansion, feels like the one you should have in this situation. You're supposed to be happy and grateful and know this time will go by so quickly. We all know that script well, because yes, the time will go quickly. And you are so lucky to have a kid healthy enough to be there in the first place. But Kate is there gulping down Advil on her fourth coffee, hoping it's all over soon. And when you're feeling this way, it feels like you're breaking an important rule. You're going against the grain. This is where being objective about it helps so much. It takes everything as true and acknowledges the vitality gap as the cost. Kate is going to do her best to make her child feel good about the day and create a positive experience, but it's not an easy day for her, to say the least. Kate's slider is landing on extraction. That makes her human. And just because the slider is landing on extraction this time, it doesn't mean that Kate's going to feel that same way the next time around. None of this is permanent. It's true, but it's not permanent. The conditions of your life will be different, and you can make a different assessment based on that. And I want to talk about guilt for a minute, because so much of that comes from the pull that the parallel galaxies have. You're locked away at the competition. Just like Kate's concern about the plumber, all the extractive system's needs just keep piling up, waiting for you to come back. And you're still feeling what they put you through over the course of the week, just like Kate. Guilt is the voice of an impossibility, that you need to fulfill all of them equally all the time. It's also a big force keeping you in the vitality gap, and that's why I'm emphasizing objectivity. Only you can know what the vitality gap feels like for you, and now you have a spectrum with which to assess it. You can adjust the slider to reflect it all, everything your parallel galaxies are bringing to the table. It's the computer update in the middle of the deadline, the early morning, the drive, the plumber's full inbox, the aching hip, the heartbroken child. It's all of it. And objectively, that's a lot of extraction. Kate's there for it, and so are you. What being there for it takes is what the vitality gap is all about. Your focus needs to be on closing the vitality gap so that you can answer the call of the things that matter to you. I've presented a way of thinking about the systems in your life that make them sound greedy. And that's because on some level, perhaps many levels, depending on the system, that's actually true. But they need you. They're dependent on you. If you were to burn out, they'd be in trouble. So in light of this, what does guilt do? When you're honest about the vitality gap, you can see guilt for what it is, a roadblock. And this is where objectivity really helps. But I also know it's not magic. So when the slider lands on extraction, you might have times when you can lessen the demand's effect on your vitality. You can cancel or decide not to do something, take it off your list entirely. Or you can delegate, like deciding to drop your child off with another parent. But you can't always cancel or delegate. Lots of times you just need to do the thing. So when it's time for that pointless meeting, the slider allows you to be fully aware of how it's affecting your vitality. And this is a pivotal first step, because now you see that your vitality matters and you're using what you know about the vitality gap to protect it. And this is the awareness that changes things. And it comes down to an easy question. Is this expansion or extraction? Without this perspective, you stay in survival mode. You endure. You're focused on getting through the day, and that's the getting taped up phenomenon again. The underlying conditions, all of that extraction, keep going undeterred, no relief in sight. And monitoring your vitality is different, and it's sustainable because the hard days can and will come. You can now see them from a different position. And I like to emphasize that this is a big deal by referring to this position as the expansion point. And this is when you move from settling for getting taped up to playing offense. You're putting your vitality on the same level as the demands of extractive systems. It's not about recovery. You're not looking to recharge. You're looking to stay fully charged. The expansion point is the moment you stop accepting that your life can't accommodate you. It's when you start treating your vitality as non-negotiable. So work deadlines are still going to exist. You're still a caregiver. All that's still true. But what's different is you've decided that your vitality is equally important. You finally stop seeing yourself as an unlimited resource. Your life needs to make room for you. And the question, expansion or extraction, is how you hold that position. Thinking about the expansion point helps you to recognize that you're not going back. It's a decision that reorganizes everything that comes afterward. And to make it real, you need to know what expansion actually means for you, not in the abstract, specifically. So let's talk about values. Imagine a cake on a beautiful plate in front of you. It's 3 layers and it's your favorite kind. The first layer, the bottom layer, holds your primary values. This is your family and other important relationships. It's the work that matters to you, good health, the right finances, and a form of spirituality. You might have more on that list, but those are the fundamentals for most people. The second layer holds your concern for the world beyond your direct circle. This is where your care for your community, the environment, animals, any advocacy-minded concerns might sit, including the causes that matter to you. You don't have to be an activist on any of these. We're just talking about values, not action. The third layer is about you specifically. It's the top one. It's beautifully decorated. The first 2 layers have cleared the way for you to do something important with this layer, thinking about what you value when you're not thinking about anyone else's needs. And to get started, that ripcord fantasy is actually useful. Use it. What do you do in your fantasy? What does it illuminate about you that's important to you? Is it art? Is it nature? Is it making things with your hands? Is it being by the ocean? Spend time with this. This is how you know what expansion means for you specifically. Now you've done something important. You've started to identify your vitality reserves. You now have the question, is this expansion or extraction? You're no longer thinking about recovery. You're thinking about playing offense. And you see your vitality as an essential resource to protect, and you're shaping your understanding of what the expansion means for you. Most women assume that when the extraction eases, when the kids get older, when caregiving shifts, when work settles, the vitality gap closes on its own. It doesn't. And that's what episode 6 is about. Whether you're at a time of transition or not, understanding this dynamic is key. The masterclass is at thefunreset.com.